Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review Morning Briefing. It is Monday, the 12th of January. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined, first of all, by Chris Jack. How goes it, Chris?
All good. We're getting quite good at these happy Monday mornings, aren't we? Everyone's in a good mood. Rangers have won at the weekend. This'll never catch on.
Yeah. Joshua Barry also joins us. Good weekend, Joshua?
Did I have a good weekend? Yeah, I did. Yeah. I'm a bit weary, but also ready to go again. A busy week. New CEO imminent, as Chris has reported. Lots of transfer stuff happening. Lots of football. So plenty to get through, Derek.
Yeah, there certainly is. It's going to be a busy old show today, folks. Before we get stuck in, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. If you're looking for a new fence, these are the guys to call. They offer free consultations and 10% off with the code Rangers Review over on their website, willows-fencing.com, and the all-important details are in the description below this video. Right, I think we'll start with yesterday's game. Rangers recorded their fifth win in a row up at Pittodrie, 2-0 victory, goals in either half. The first from Tello Asgard, again from another set piece, which will no doubt delve deeper into. Emmanuel Fernandez had a goal ruled out from a free kick. For me, it should have been given, but there you go. But Rangers were rarely troubled, certainly in that second half, in adverse weather conditions, and they eventually got that second goal after Jedi Gassama was upended in the box by Graham Shinnie, and James Tavernier stepped up, as he so often does, and put the ball into the corner of the net past Dimitar Mitov. And Rangers moving up to second again, to 3 points to Hearts, who had Craig Gordon to thank to make sure they came away with Dens Park with all 3 points yesterday, and moving 3 points clear of Celtic, who go back to winning ways on Saturday. Another professional performance, Chris. Rangers on a bit of a roll at the moment, pardon the pun, and they look like they're bubbling along nicely just now.
I think the manager summed it up quite well, both in his Sky interview and in his press conference. The first answer to his Sky interview basically said 3 points, clean sheet, job done. And when he then spoke to Blair and the guys in the press conference, he spoke about it being a different kind of performance, about it being a man's performance. One of these ones you have to really stand up, you have to dig in, you have to fight your way against the opposition and the conditions. It's a very different kind of victory, but the kind of victory that if you are going to be successful in a title race, that's the kind of win that sometimes you just have to produce. Safe to say, earlier on in the season, under previous regimes, Rangers, I don't think would have been able to produce a performance like that in those circumstances. So another string to the bow of the manager and to this squad. I think we've all got doubts about mentality and character and some of the non-negotiables, but the more tests they pass, like Easter Road away, like an Old Firm game, like following up an Old Firm game with Aberdeen at Ibrox and then Aberdeen away, the more of those type of tests that they pass, the higher the confidence levels and a bit more the belief is raised as well. So not a classic performance, not a 90 minutes that you'll be dying to go and rewatch again, unless you're Josh, obviously. But I think there's a lot of positives to take from it.
Yeah, the job he's done, Joshua, Danny Rule, since taking over is quite remarkable, really, considering where Rangers were an absolute shambles. It makes you wonder if only they'd got the managerial appointment right in the summer. I reckon they'd be top of the league at this point.
Yeah, I think they would. I think it's 35 points. To answer Chris's question, I'm of course always desperate to rewatch a Rangers game. But I think it's 35 points that Rangers have taken since Rule arrived, and the next closest is Motherwell in 26.
Is it 30? Somebody commented, is it 32?
I think it's 35. I think it was 35 after yesterday. Obviously, it's 11 wins and a draw. Someone else can work it out.
Falkirk, Dundee United, Hearts.
There we are.
No, Hearts get beat, and Dundee United, Falkirk, 2 draws.
So he's picked up a lot of points, yeah.
Yeah.
And Chris might be able to speak a bit on this as well, and maybe this is just revisionism, but I've had a few conversations in recent months where people have said they did want Rule in the summer, but that Sheffield Wednesday issue, obviously, it's not the easiest club to deal with, and the buyout that was in his contract, I think it was £5 million, was slightly prohibitive, and obviously would leave Sheffield Wednesday kind of slightly later in the summer, wouldn't he? But it is a really impressive job, and listen, if you're nitpicking at things, Derek, do Rangers need to create more in open play? Yes, and I think we'll come on to talk about Skov Olsen and their search for a real difference maker in the final third. Blair and I have spoke about it over the weekend. However, you can't do everything, and to have done what Danny Rule has done with limited training time, basically to make the side look hard to beat, which when he arrived seemed a genuine million miles away, didn't it? It really did. Not only they won 1-8, but they did not look like a side who could go away to Parkhead and to Pittodrie and score 5 and concede 1 in 2 games. And I think just as impressively, I was at Tynecastle before Christmas, and that felt quite final. The away end really emptied at the end of the game, understandably. Hearts went 9 or 12 ahead with a game in hand. So what I think Rule has done pretty well is he's rolled with the punches a bit, and he's been able to pick his team up to take maximum points since that Hearts game away from home, winning 3 home games, winning 2 really difficult away games, and continually. Again, I made this point in the post-match show yesterday. For me, one of the differences compared to a couple of years ago with Clermont is it's more unpredictable because Rule is constantly changing, and that's partly because he's constantly got injuries. He's got players going away to AFCON as he did with Nasser Giga, but he is finding different solutions. Yesterday was again another day for set pieces, which I'm sure we'll come on to talk about. But like one of the comments said, I can't remember many. Aberdeen, I think, are really poor this season, but I can't remember many Pittodrie games that felt as comfortable as that. Even when Rangers were, it would have been more nervy maybe if they're 1-0 up in the final stages. But still, like, you didn't feel. I think Aberdeen created 0.37 expected goals or something like that. Like,
they're just now.
That was it.
Yeah, they're poor. Not to discredit the Rangers' performance over the previous 2 games, but Aberdeen have got a whole lot of problems at this point in time. Let's go on to the set pieces, Chris. I remember I was on with Johnny on Friday, and we discussed, of course, the big news being Connor Barron being out for the foreseeable future and who replaces him in that midfield. We had our doubts over whether Thello Asgard was cut out to play in a fixture like this. We both said we would like to see Lyle Cameron in there, but shows you how much we know. I thought he was good yesterday, wasn't he? And he took his goal really well.
He was good yesterday. He did take his goal well. If I had been on Friday, I would probably have joined you on that particular train. So thankfully, I was on the rota for Friday morning because I think I've expressed my doubts over Asgard in certain situations. But fair play to him. He took his goal well. A nice move. And as Josh said, the set pieces. It's becoming a welcome. A talking point because Rangers are becoming very, very good at them. I thought it was nice of Danny Rule yesterday to mention Scott Fry's influence, and then also mention Kevin Thelwell for the role that he played in bringing Scott Fry into the club. A number of people, I saw a couple of comments, people saying, well, perhaps Kevin Thelwell wasn't as bad as all made out, because a number of his signings are actually coming off, and they're starting to make an impact, which is good. But bigger picture, Rangers are still not favourites for this title. They're still not leading the Premiership race, but they've got themselves into a really, really encouraging position. And the more that they can continue to improve in set pieces through Scott Fry, the more they can continue to improve individually, like we've seen Asgard do of late. I think like we've seen Manny Fernandez do of late during this run. I'm sure we'll talk about the goal that he should have had. But there are a number of players that are improving individually, and as you see those individual improvements, clearly we're getting a collective improvement, which is obviously the most important thing. So I think a lot of people at the club can be pleased with the trajectory that they're on right now. But I'm sure if Danny Rule was on the show, the first thing he would say was, "Well, it's on to the next one and the next one after that." So that's the situation. Rangers have put themselves in a very good position, but they have to continue it now.
Yeah, he's saying all the right things, Danny Rule, that's for sure. But on Tello Asgard after the game, he was asked about him having a tough start. He says, I'm honest. I think when you look back, a lot of players had a tricky start, or we felt this, but at the moment, we bring them in good moments. We create as a group. We have more belief. We start to score. We understand each other more and more. And this is fantastic to see. And this is what I like. Just on the disallowed goal, Joshua, this absolutely does my head in when goalkeepers flap at things, they go down, and immediately the referee gives it a free kick. Now, in this case, that didn't occur. Manny Fernandez scored what for me should have been a legitimate goal. Mitov nowhere near it. Fernandez jumps it and nods it. He's a massive guy, of course, nods it into the empty net. But after a VAR check, you know, when that is brought out and the referee goes over to the monitor, is going to be disallowing the goal, and that appeared to be the case. Your thoughts on that? Was right to be ruled out? I know that Chris Sutton on Sky even said it should have been a goal. Chris Boyd could understand why it was chopped off. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that was a weird switch around from
yeah.
No, I think that there's the one angle where you see that Mitov can't get his arm up. But then my argument would be to that, what is Manny Fernandez supposed to do? Where is he supposed to jump? And I think it's just a case of two men jump for the ball. One is bigger and stronger, and the bigger and stronger one heads the ball into an empty net. And not dissimilarly to what we saw with Mitov and Fernandez, and the way that Rangers have clearly targeted him at set pieces in midweek. I agree with you, Derek. I think that while you can, it's one of these decisions you can re-referee. However, my question would be, what is Fernandez supposed to do? Where is he supposed to jump for the ball? Because if it was the other way around and the keeper was blocking him, that would be fine. So it didn't matter in the end for Rangers. It took one goal off their set piece total. I think they're now 12, which is joint top. On Asgard, Johnny obviously also said that Conor Barron should be taken off set pieces immediately. So I'm keeping tab of. He's on a stones throwing campaign this season, so I'm keeping tab of his pre-match shouts. John Suter moving into midfield was the one last week that made me choke when I was making dinner. Yeah, I thought I'll listen to the guys and as I'm cooking dinner. I think the set pieces have been really impressive because, and again, something that has been put to me at different points is there's a difference between a set piece coach and a coach working on set pieces. And right from the start of Danny Rule's tenure, if you remember back, even before Scott Fry came into the club, they scored the opener against Kilmarnock with a set piece, Derek Cornelius, and they scored the opener in another league game, which passes me by early in Danny Rule's tenure. Clearly, there was a big emphasis early on because this is an area you can control. We see it all around football, and Rangers haven't maximised it for a long time. You know, this time last year, they didn't score their first set piece goal until Boxing Day.
Yeah, that was a
now
thing.
At the moment, and even then, that wasn't really a set piece goal. At the moment, Rangers have 12. I think Hearts have 12. Celtic have 1. Now, in the absence of many goals in your team, still your top scorer in the league is still 4. That needs to be rectified, but set pieces are going to be continually important, and we'll have a bit of a look at it probably outside of the transfer window when we can get some time to look at it. But what stands out to me yesterday is you have Manny Fernandez, who probably should score early on with that header at the back.
Should.
Right?
Raskin should score as well.
Raskin should score it, but it's all different routines. You know, you've got the short inventive one that Tello Asgard scores from, but that time Manny Fernandez isn't the target; he's the blocker. So I think that's what makes it impressive. It's not just, okay, Manny Fernandez is huge and he's brilliant at attacking the ball in the air. Let's create space for him every single time. It's let's try and mix it up, and the more variable we are, the more unpredictable we become. And just finally, the Aberdeen game on Tuesday, I think often we think of set pieces as super controlled and you can't do anything inventive. But the fact that James Tavernier tells Conor Barron to swing one in for Nico Raskin at the front post because they saw that Aberdeen weren't guarding that area of the pitch. And also there was a moment where you could hear it in the stadium. Scott Fry was screaming to Mikey Moore to get the ball because Aberdeen had packed the box so much. It's clearly not robotic, but it's trying to react to the opposition's weaknesses as well. And you see that with Mitov trying to put the ball on top of him. And listen, 3 of the 4 goals that Rangers score in these 2 wins are set pieces. They need to improve in open play. We're going to speak about some ways of maybe trying to address that. But until that point, set pieces are absolutely getting them through.
Yeah, certainly. You mentioned their variation. That's what I was hoping to see when Rangers appointed a set-piece coach, and that's what we're now getting. So he's done a grand job, and long may it continue. Good that the players are taking on board what is being asked of them as well. And as we've seen yesterday, Rangers got their just rewards from that. Lots of comments, incidentally, coming out about the refereeing performance. I don't think David Dickinson was great. I don't think he's that good a referee, to be honest. But there aren't, well, I struggle to think of any that is top-notch in Scotland. At one point, he was just booking everybody for anything. I know Ascar went up for a head and he get booked. The Suter and even the Aberdeen boy, jostling for position at the corner, both of them get booked.
Yeah.
It was just a bit of a rabble. Chermites was never a booking as well. But there you go. Thankfully, it never affected the outcome of the game. Just before we move on, Chris, one of the flashpoints, I know that a lot of missiles have been chucked at Rangers players. Fernandez gets struck, I think, when he netted, when the players were warming up behind the goal. We've seen cups raining down on the players as well. And then, of course, Sky showed us the footage of Nico Raskin coming out the tunnel to scoosh a fan afterwards. What did you... He's taken over the Václav Černý mantle. What did you make of that? You can't be chucking stuff at players. This is where I stand on it. You can't be chucking stuff at players. I don't know what the thought process is to think, oh, this is a good idea to chuck stuff to guys on the park. And if someone comes back and scooshes you with a bit of fluid, then you can't then go and moan about it. Your thoughts on that?
There's been quite a lot of social media debate over the Raskin incident already, hasn't there? I'm sure we've all had the AI generated GIF of him taking some sheep with a water bottle and a super soaker. Should Nico have done that? The obvious answer is no. You win the game, you get yourself up the tunnel. But if you look at the other incidents, that's way down the list of seriousness. We saw really early on in the game, obviously, when the Rangers subs, including Bojan Miovski, were out warming up. There's objects being thrown at them after Rangers scored a second goal. There's objects coming towards them as they go and celebrate in front of their own fans at that stage. Anyone who goes into a game and thinks it's acceptable to throw coins or paper or lighters or anything, or bottles, cups, whatever it is, what makes you think it's acceptable to go and throw that at a football player? There's no need for it whatsoever, and hopefully Aberdeen are able to go through the right process and find out who the culprits were. It might take them a wee while because there was that much of it. So I think if you're going to have people in your support that do that, you can't really take the moral high ground when Nico Raskin then goes back out with a water bottle. He shouldn't have done it, but in the grand scheme of things, in terms of the list of incidents yesterday, a bit of water being scooshed like it was at Parkhead, it's not exactly crime of the century. So maybe Rangers will have a word with Nico and say, look, next time just get yourself up a tunnel and ignore it. But I think if you've been provoked over the course of 90 minutes and you've seen your teammates come under fire from things all have been thrown from the stand, I think Nico maybe just get caught up in the moment a wee bit heading up the tunnel there.
Yeah, he was asked about it, Daniel Rule, afterwards, certainly about Fernandez being hit by an object in the celebration after the first goal. I think in general, a tough place to go is what he said. I heard a lot about this place, but for me, it was about the right answer. We scored 2 times, we won 3 points, we go home, we celebrate, that's it. So there you go. That is what Daniel Rule had to say on that. Let's move on, Joshua. Transfer news. Lots of people are tuning in this morning because they want to hear what's happening. I remember that, I think, was it on with Johnny last Monday, perhaps, or the 6th?
Yes.
I think it was the 6th.
Yeah, he was.
Where are the signings?
Yeah, I know.
And Rangers, to be fair, Rangers, to their credit, fair play to the media team there. They tweeted out where are the signings or words to that effect, and they announced the signing of Tochi Chukwani, who I think that's a story that ourselves broke last week, that Rangers were looking to bring him in from Eastern Bats. That was ratified and confirmed yesterday afternoon, so very much looking forward to seeing him. Just a heads up, folks, we'll be speaking to a Sturm Graz podcaster this afternoon, so we'll get an idea of just what player Rangers have signed. But the latest guy to be linked, Joshua, is Andrei Skov Olsen. We feel like we've moved we went back in time. He's a player that's been on the radar for many a year now. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it broke in the news broke initially. I think it was Sky Germany, and when I saw the WhatsApp or tweet, I can't remember, forwarded to me, my first instinct was, is it 2022? And not just 2022, because he was linked for a long time, and I think it was 2022 the summer he moved to Bruges. But Rangers had attracted him for a while. He's gone on to have a brilliant career at Bruges. He's got 40 caps for Denmark. He's moved to Wolfsburg. And the parallels with a right winger who can get goals and assists, who's probably too expensive to buy permanently, in Václav Černý, the Rangers had last season, the parallels are there. Myself and Chris working away trying to ascertain exactly what the situation was last night. We've got a piece on the website which people can read. The interest is true. The inquiry, there has been an inquiry made. We're told that a number of clubs, understandably, are interested in Skov Olsen. It would be a loan. He's still under contract, Derek, at Wolfsburg until 2029. So again, similar to Černý last season, in that he was under a long-term contract. Wolfsburg may be looking to loan him out if it hasn't quite worked as well as they'd hoped before selling him on. We're told that Skov Olsen is not the only target in that area. I think if Rangers could make it happen, they'd like to. However, the key point that was put to me in one conversation last night is that this is kind of the level or the profile of player, real difference maker in the final third that Rangers are looking at. They're not looking at, let's just pick up any right winger, someone who's got decent numbers, someone who maybe, like the two players they're signing in Chukwueze and Romans, who both have a lot of experience, both under 21 internationals, both played a lot of minutes. But they're 22. Skov Olsen is 26, and he's proven. And it was basically put to me that that is a demonstration of the profile of player that Rangers are looking at in that final third. That is very clearly what they need. I think Gassama and Moore are both better off the right. I think we've spoken about. I think Gassama and Moore would both benefit from a bit of rotation and not being relied upon too heavily. Gassama, you see what he can do with that penalty win. It's about getting him to do it more consistently and not relying on him so much. If you could get Skov Olsen in on that right wing, I think that would be a real potential game changer, because as we're going to have a bit more insight on this on the website today, and as Blair and I spoke about on Saturday, Derek, on an individual basis, who's a real creative player that Rangers have in that team at the moment? Who's someone that you think, like they had with Černý, Danilo last season, or even Hadji, who's someone who will create out of nothing? And what Černý gave you last season, I think, is regardless of how the team were playing, because he's proven he was at that level consistently. And that's what I think there's a recognition that Rangers need. So still a lot of work to be done. People can read the piece on the website if they would like, but that's the state of play as we understand it.
Interesting. Certainly a player that is certainly exciting a number of fans, certainly if you look at social media, that's for sure. So one of a number of players that Rangers have shown an interest in. I've seen over the weekend as well, Chris, Rangers asking to be kept informed about Kieran Bowie at Hibs, and I've seen that Celtic also showing an interest in the Hibs centre forward as well. Is that a move you could maybe see happening in this window? Is it possibly one that might rumble on? It might might happen if movement with regards to the forwards, maybe one player leaving?
I think the bigger picture on transfers, as Josh outlined and touched on there, Rangers have been linked with a number of players in various positions. There's a lot of names doing the rounds, and just because a name pops up does not mean to say that he's automatically on his way to Ibrox and will automatically sign. So as we've reported there, Skov Olsen is a player that Rangers are interested in, that they would like to sign, but that doesn't mean to say that it definitely will happen. As we understand it, a lot of other interest in him, and rightly so, because he is a very good player. Kieran Bowie falls into that category as well. If Rangers were to enter that race, they're not going to be the only ones trying to get that one done. Bowie is someone I like. I think he could be good. He is going to take a big fee. Would Rangers see that as a fee that's worthwhile paying? I think for someone of his profile, it would be. I think you make your money back. I think you make a profit on them if all goes well. So that's one I would like to see happen. But it will take another number 9, i.e. Danilo, to move on. I don't see you're spending the thick end of £6 million on Kieran Bowie and then having four number 9s. You have to be wary that you can't just go and stockpile players in certain positions. But if Danilo was to move on, then I think Bowie would be an upgrade in that position and someone that Rangers could have success with now, and then hopefully make a bit of money on as well. So that's what I would like to see happen. But again, as we always stress in these windows, it is just a very early interest from Rangers on that one. It's not a case of money being put on the table or anything like that right now.
Yeah, £6.5 million. Hibs said to be looking for Joshua at that sort of valuation. Is that good business? Do you reckon?
Do you know what? I don't know, because my worry would be with it, Derek, is you've also spent £8 million on Trimiti, who clearly isn't the finished article, clearly is more confident. We saw what he could do in that Parkhead game. But I think the decision that Rule will have to make is, and his recruitment team is, do Rangers have sufficient goals? It's chicken and egg a little bit for me, because if you invest heavily, let's say, in a big loan fee to get Skov Olsen in some ways it's hard to judge Rangers strikers, because I still don't think they're getting much in the way of opportunities at all. And I don't think they're the type of strikers who will create opportunities for themselves. Now, I've not watched a ton of Kieran Bowie outside of probably appearances against the Old Firm. Is he going to be someone who creates opportunities for himself, or is a priority getting someone a line behind to add goals and also create a little bit more for those ahead of them? And I think the priority is this right-sided attacker. I feel like we've said that in every transfer window about Rangers since forever. There's also a growing possibility that Rangers will have to go back into the market to look at another midfielder because of that Connor Barron injury news, 8 to 12 weeks. But what if that's on the 12 side instead of the 8 side? What is clear is that transfer activity is looking a bit different to the summer. There's more of a interest in the Scottish market. I think there's 3 or 4 really interesting players, a couple of whom are at Motherwell, Bowie being one at Hibs. We've covered the Mulligan scenario in the summer a lot, haven't we? But there's more emphasis on that, and I think there's a real recognition that European qualification next year is tricky. But if you win the league and can get into the Champions League automatically, then that is also you make your money back. I think Danny Rule has shown enough to justify being backed. Absolutely. He made subs very late yesterday. I don't know what you two thought, but
he did very late. And amazed. I was going to actually tweet out, let's get Matondo on, and then lo and behold, he brings on Rabi. With a new signing.
He's back, yeah, like a new signing. But then you also have, again, as we've reported, expectation that Lyle Cameron and Finlay Curtis go out on loan. So they're looking at that bench yesterday. I know players have to come back from injury, but there's not a lot to play with in terms of being creative with your team selection. So I think Rule has done enough to justify being backed. Whether the number 9 is one they go for now or in the summer, yeah, another one to keep an eye on.
Yep, Chris, going back to you, Craig with a point as well. Other players over the weekend Rangers linked to says, what happened to the link with the 2 Sunderland boys? This is Dan Neil and the 22-year-old winger Romain Mundell, or Mundell, I think is how you pronounce it. I think Rangers have inquired, but that's as far as it goes at this point. Again,
very, very early stages. Rangers do need to sign players in both those areas, so they are scouring the market to see who could be available, what deals could be done. You go and see what the loan fees will be. You go and see what the wage contributions will be. So players that are on our list, but on a very, very long list, and 2 of many players that have been linked, that will be linked, that are being looked at right now. So as I said earlier on, just because there's a link doesn't mean to say that it's definitely going to happen.
Derek, just on that as well, I think the difference in January and the summer is that in the summer you probably can, if you want one player and you're only making a few additions, you probably can drag it out. The risk in January is you're doing business so quickly, it's a different type of window. So you've probably got to have 3, 4, 5, 6 backups. So that's the difference in the summer. You can maybe throw all your eggs into one basket. You've got more time. This is like a month where if one thing changes, if someone else pays more to get a player, you've got to be able to react quickly. So as Chris says, I think there's going to be a lot of inquiries and a lot of kind of base layer work done, and it's about the 2 or 3 remaining if it reaches up to the 3 stage, who do kind of cross that threshold. But that's I think one of the key differences compared to the summer, where it was right. We want this guy. Let's go and get him. I think it's a slightly different picture in this month.
Yeah. Off the field, story you broke last week, Chris, regarding the CEO and Jim Gillespie from St Mirren. It looks like that is a position that looks closer to being filled. Can you enlighten us on the current state of play on that one?
I expect that to be confirmed and filled within the next few hours. As you say, we had that on the website last week to say that Jim was the front runner for it, and that he was the most likely candidate to get that position. I know we spoke a bit about the whys and the kind of move behind that deal. I do expect Rangers to announce that at some stage today, so that will tick that particular box. As we have in the piece on the site that filed last night, don't expect him to start straight away. He does have a notice period to work at present, so it'll be a couple of months before he actually gets down to business. But Jim Gillespie will be the new Rangers chief exec, and we'll have a piece on the site tomorrow morning with a bit more detail on the process and why Jim is the man that Rangers have chosen to go for. So nice to have that one. Nice to have that one filled. I think it's been an important thing for Andrew Kavanagh and for the board. There's a lot of focus on first team matters, and rightly so. It's the most important thing going. A lot of focus on executing the plan for the transfer window, but the role of chief exec is clearly one that Rangers had to fill, and they've decided that Jim Gillespie is the man to do so. So keep an eye on the site tomorrow, and you'll get a bit more insight into who he is and why he's here.
Yeah, there you go. So Fraser Thornton, still acting CEO at this point in time, while Jim Gillespie serves that notice period. Right, folks, that will do us there. A big thank you to Chris and to Joshua as ever. Bumper old show. Thank you to you all for tuning in and interacting with the show. It's very much appreciated. Remember, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's show. It helps us here at the channel. As I touched on earlier, we'll bring you the insight into, I was going to say just Chuck Wani. I think we just call him Chucky, as you pointed out on Friday, Chris. That's his new nickname. What was that, Joshua?
Toshi, isn't it? Chuck Wani.
Yeah, Toshi.
I'm quite interested to see. I've watched a bit of him. We'll have a piece on the website too at some point this week. But the word that Danny Rose consistently used is physicality, Derek, and it's an interesting one because he's not like a sitting spraying passes about number 6, which just makes me think, will Rangers go back in for someone like that? But yeah, definitely an area of the pitch they need help in, even if Diamandi and Raskin, I thought were really good yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter asks, when's the members' Q&A this week, Derek? I'll let you know on a briefing. There's a lot happening, a lot of moving plates at this point in time, but we have been recording there. I think we recorded the last couple of weeks on a Friday. But yeah, I'll let you know, Peter, but it won't be today. Right. Big thank you to Chris, Joshua, and to you all. If we don't speak to you, then enjoy the rest of your Monday, folks. Bye for now.